What is going on, everybody? Seth here from Redskins Reign, and we're getting into the kind of pilot episode of what I want to start doing with this channel. I want to get into college scouting, just NFL scouting in general. So during this draft season, I will be doing mock drafts. I'm working on my top 100 board. Once that is complete for now, I will put that under my face cam here. And as a draft, right before the draft, we'll get into my big board, which will change periodically throughout the draft process. And we'll get into my top 30 receiver videos, etc., that kind of stuff. And then after the draft, obviously we'll do winners and losers of the draft. But then I want to get into quarterback evaluation, quarterback film study of last season in the NFL. I'm a diehard Commanders fan, so I'm really excited to get into Jayden Daniels. He'll probably be the first one I do. Next will probably be Drake May. He was my favorite player from last year's draft class. I think he's an elite quarterback. I think he'll be an MVP candidate within the next couple of years after the Patriots give him, somewhat of a team around him, at least on offense, some weapons for him. But his film was good last season without any weapons. So I'm excited for that. But yeah, let's dive into this first mock draft of the channel. We got the Tennessee Titans here at number 1 overall. Now, I do think Brian Callahan has job security. I don't think he has to worry about forcing a quarterback, as GMs and head coaches like to do when they feel like their job is in jeopardy. So if they were sitting here and picking at number 1 overall, I would say they should go Abdul Carter. I think he is probably the best player in the class as a pure pass rusher. But I want to lean into the scenario that, so over the past week, the Giants, there's been a lot of reports of the Giants wanting to trade up number 1 overall to take Cam Ward. A few days ago, we've also heard Adam Schefter talking about the Browns are going to take quarterback no matter what in the first round. Now, I think that could be them putting out those reports so that the Giants feel like they have to trade up number 1 overall, and Abdul Carter falls right into the Browns' laps. And let's go ahead and play into that scenario here. So we're going to have the Giants trading up to number 1 overall. I think it'll be a package like this. It's not going to take a feature 1 or something like that because this quarterback class is not good. I'm not big on any of them. I don't think any of them are first-round graded quarterbacks. Now, they have that added value because they are a quarterback. So I can understand going quarterback early, even in a bad class. So Cam Ward is going to be a New York Giant. I do think he is the best quarterback in this class. And we saw Brian DeBull have success with a kind of similar play style quarterback in Josh Allen. He was able to help turn around his play in the NFL. Now, a lot of Josh Allen turning around his play was him training in the offseason, fixing his hip mechanics. But Brian DeBull was the OC in Buffalo at the time, so he did play a part in that. So maybe Brian DeBull can sort of help develop Cam Ward into a good quarterback. Joe Schoen and Brian DeBull probably feel like their job's in jeopardy. I'm sure they're getting pressure from ownership, so they feel like they have to go quarterback here. Now, they had one of the best draft classes of last year, in my opinion, but it didn't translate to success on the football field. Didn't have wins. So probably pressure from ownership. If you don't get a quarterback that looks promising, you're gone. So that's probably what it is. That's why they need to go Cam Ward here. Browns at number 2 overall. Abdul Carter falls right into your laps. Now, Myles Garrett was extended this morning, about an hour ago. $40 million a year. I believe it was 4 years. That's a good contract. When you have a player like Myles Garrett, they're priceless. You got to match what they want. Now, it's kind of funny because he said he didn't care about the money anymore. He cared about legacy, getting a Super Bowl. I guess when you give a high enough price, a high enough bargain, he's going to take it anyways. And I guess you can't really blame him. $40 million is a lot of money. But I originally thought he was for sure getting traded. And I started filming a mock draft last night. And I ended up stopping halfway through. I was going to maybe record the second round today instead of restarting. And then I saw the news of Myles Garrett getting extended. And I said, all right, we're going to restart. So I originally had him getting traded to the Lions here. But that's obviously not happening anymore. So we're still going to have the Browns go Abdul Carter. Him and Myles Garrett would be an insane edge rushing duo. Titans here, number 3 overall. Back on the clock. I think you go BPA here, which I think would be Travis Hunter. I don't have him as the best corner in this class. I think that goes to Will Johnson. But Travis Hunter is a weapon, and Will Johnson does have the injury concern. He had the season-ending injury. I'm not too worried about it, but maybe the Titans are. And if you look at fully healthy corners in this class, Travis Hunter definitely is the best. And you can play him a few snaps at receiver a game. So let's lock in Travis Hunter to Tennessee. Now the Patriots, number 4 overall. Before the combine, I would have said Mason Graham and T-Mac. It's between those two, and it's locked in between those two. There's a few different routes you can go now because Mason Graham did not have a good combine. He only weighed in with 32 in charms. But I'm not too worried about it. He has some concern with his block shedding, but you can see that he was a former wrestler. He puts in so much effort. The tape is still good. I still think he is the best interior defensive lineman in the class. And even with the not as good combine as you would have hoped for from him, I still think he's for sure going to go top 10. T-Mac, the problem with him is he's not running at all in the draft cycle, which could hurt his draft stock. You see buzz of him maybe going mid to late first now. And he definitely has bust potential. But he is my wide receiver 1 in the class. With all that said, I am going to go Mason Graham to the Patriots. They establish that interior of the defensive line. A dark horse pick for the Patriots could be Ashton Jeanty. Mike Vrabel, we saw the success he had with Derrick Henry in Tennessee. And it's very realistic for a generational running back to go as high as number 4 overall. I think there are 2 generational running backs in this class with Jeanty and Hampton. I think they're both exceptional players. They're neck and neck for me. So it's realistic for Jeanty to go there, but we're going to have Mason Graham go there. Jaguars, number 5 overall. There's a few different options you can go. You could go interior offensive line. You need to improve that. If Mason Graham was still on the board, you could have gone Mason Graham. You could go Will Johnson. That would be a very good selection there. He's top 2 on my board. But I'm going to go someone who I just talked about, who people think his stock might drop, and it might. But I think Liam Cohen is going to want his Mike Evans in this offense, and that's what T-Mac can be. He profiles as the more physical receiver, which is what Mike Evans is. Now, T-Mac's arms aren't exactly, the arm length isn't exactly what you want it to be for that physical receiver. So he does have bust potential, but I think he'll work out. I think Liam Cohen can make him work out and play that Mike Evans role, with Brian Thomas being the being the premier wide receiver 1, the top target in the offense. But T-Mac can play that Mike Evans role to an extent. We're going to send him to Jacksonville. Hopefully, Trevor Lawrence gets unlocked now, because I still believe in T-Law. Raiders here, number 6 overall. You could go Ashton Jeanty. Maybe Pete Carroll wants to get his, not version of Marshawn Lynch, because Ashton Jeanty is not the same size of Marshawn Lynch, but Jeanty still is a generational running back, I think. You could get your running back, your bell cow back in Jeanty. But what I want to do is I want to build towards the defense. You just traded for Geno Smith. Traded him for a 3rd round pick, so you could say, well, you want to get more weapons around Geno Smith. And I think Jeanty would be a fine pick at number 6 overall. But I'm going to take Will Johnson here. I think the Raiders need to improve their cornerback room very much. Pete Carroll wants to get his cornerback 1. He's always had one. You think of Richard Sherman back in with the Legion of Boom. Now, Will Johnson does have the injury concern. He had a season-ending injury. But I'm not too worried about it. Before before the injury, he's playing absolutely insane. Only 195 yards allowed in those 6 games. Those 2 interceptions, both went for pick sixes. He's a playmaking machine. He is a true lockdown cornerback. I think he can be a true lockdown cornerback in the NFL. I'm going to send Will Johnson over to Las Vegas. Jets here, number 7 overall. Will Johnson was still on the board. I would have for sure went him to pair him with Sauce Gardner. But since that's not an option, you could go Kenneth Grant. There's been a lot of buzz that teams have him top 5 on their board and that he's going to go very high. He's a good player, but I'm not sure about having him go this high. I think the correct option here would be to go Armand Membou. His stock has risen since the combine, and the tape really matches it. So I think Armand Membou to the Jets would be a great selection. Those tackles are not good. You need to establish your tackles. Armand Membou can be your first step at doing that. We don't know who the quarterback is going to be next year, but whoever it is, whether it's Tyrod Taylor or whoever, you need to protect them. So let's go Armand Membou here to the Jets. Carolina Panthers here, number 8 overall. Honestly, I think there's a very clear selection here. You could go a few different routes. You could even go, corner. You could go an edge, so you could go James Pierce. But I want to fill in that Frankie Louver role that you lost last offseason to my Commanders. You have Shaq Thompson as a free agent. I think you should retain him and still go linebacker here. You want to get that athletic linebacker that can come off the edge if at times, that can blitz the quarterback. That's what Jalen Walker is. Jod Campbell is also an option to fill that role. But Jalen Walker, he didn't have as good of a combine as you want him to, but he's still an athletic linebacker who can blitz the quarterback at an efficient rate and fill that Frankie Louver role. So I'm going to go and take Jalen Walker here to the Carolina Panthers. Help solidify that defense. Saints here, number 9 overall. If this is how the board falls, I would be running to the podium with this pick. I'm going Tyler Warren. Kellen Moore is going to want his tight end, and Tyler Warren is a beast. You don't just get top 5 to 10 tight ends in free agency. Teams keep those players. So if you want one of those players, you have to build them through the draft. And that's what Tyler Warren is. I think right off the bat, he's a top 10 tight end at the very least. And, I like him even further after he said his dad made him watch John Reagan's film as a kid and told him that's how I want you to run the ball. I love Tyler Warren. It sucks that we didn't get to see him run at the combine because straight line speed is sort of a concern for him. But outside of that, he's just a rock solid player. Physical tight end. I'm all in on Tyler Warren. Bears here, number 10 overall. I think this is another selection that looks pretty clear to me. You could go interior offensive lineman. You could go edge rusher. Michael Williams would be a good fit for this defense. But I'm going to go running back here. I think Ben Johnson's going to want his guy. So I'm going to go Ashton Jeanty to the Bears. We saw with the Lions that Ben Johnson is not a big fan of DeAndre Swift. He doesn't want him as his guy. Ashton Jeanty, I think, would be a perfect selection for Ben Johnson's guy running back. You're still probably going to have someone like Najee Harris coming in free agency to be that thumper, that David Montgomery role. But Jeanty can be your guy running back. Number 11 overall, 49ers. You need help on the offensive line. You need help on the defensive line. So you want to build through the trenches here in this draft. And I think one of the better... You could go Josh Simmons, but I do think he might fall due to the injury concern. You could go someone like Michael Williams. He would fit that defense good. You could go Kenneth Grant. But I'm going to go Will Campbell here. Now, I do think if you take Will Campbell, you have to develop him to play tackle. That is what he will play. His stance does not show a guard. So I do think you need to take Will Campbell. Play Will Campbell as a tackle. Trent Williams is not getting any younger. He will be retiring soon. So you could draft Will Campbell with the hope of him being the successor to Trent Williams. Let's go ahead and lock Will Campbell to the 49ers here. Cowboys here, number 12 overall. There's a lot of different routes you could go. You could take Amari and Hampton here, which I think would be a great pick here, number 12 overall. Genty was mocked to them a lot in the past month. You could take a receiver. You could take Matthew Golden, keep him in Dallas. Could take Emeka Ibuka. You could take someone like Josh Simmons because the offensive line does need help. But I think I'm going to go an edge rusher. And we know the Cowboys love their project players in the trenches in the first round. You look at Tyler Guyton last year. And no one screams project more than Shemar Stewart. Now, I think he should be going more late first, but leave it to the Cowboys to take the project player earlier than they need to go. Only 4.5 sacks on the season. I mean, in his college career, I think he only had 2 sacks last season. And his tape was not excellent. It wasn't that good at all. It was decent, but it wasn't consistent. It was really his progression throughout the offseason that turned him into this first-round prospect. He had a good Senior Bowl, and he had a really good combine because he is a very athletic edge rusher. That is his biggest strength is his athleticism. Now, you could take him and try and develop him to be your DeMarcus Lawrence replacement because I think you are going to end up extending Micah Parsons. I don't think he's going to end up leaving, but if he does, it makes Shemar Stewart even more important to the team. So he does have extreme bust potential, but he does have a high ceiling as well if you develop him right. And the Cowboys do develop edge rushers good. Now, Dan Quinn isn't there anymore, but nonetheless, you can still develop him. Let's take Shemar Stewart for the Dallas Cowboys. Miami Dolphins, here number 13 overall. You need help on the offensive line. They don't like to take offensive line in the first round. I mean, Austin Jackson a few years ago, but could take someone like Kenneth Grant, Walter Nolan in the interior. But you need DB help, and I think Jahdae Barron is a perfect fit. He's going to play primarily as a nickel cornerback, but he does have flexibility to play on the boundary. He does have flexibility to play in the box, so you can move him around. He has a Swiss Army knife. He had a very good combine. Let's send him over to Miami. Number 14 overall, the Colts. I think there's a very clear selection here. I mean, it's between a couple players, but I think you need to go DB. And you could go Ben Morrison, who I think is a top 10 player in this class. The problem is there is a lot of injury concerns with him. He had the season-ending hip injury last season, and that is his second hip injury of his life. He had one in high school as well. So there's a lot of worry there, and that's going to make him fall out of the first round most likely. He's a great player, though. So I'm not saying it's impossible that he doesn't go even in this range in the first round. As a pure talent, he would probably be going at least top 10. But I'm going to lock in Malachi Starks here. He's a good player, and you don't want him playing in the slot, but as a deep safety, he's going to be a great starter in the NFL. And I trust Lou, Colts defensive coordinator, to put him in the right spot to succeed. So we're going to put Malachi Starks here to the Colts. Falcons here, number 15 overall. A few different routes to go. I don't think you need to go receiver. Edge rusher is a big need. They did not have a good pass rush game last season at all. One of the worst in the league, if not the worst in the league. You know, you bring in Matt Judon, but that doesn't help you that much at all. Linebacker is a need. You could go Jahad Campbell. You could go corner to pair someone with AJ Terrell. You need nose tackle pretty bad, so Kenneth Grant is an option here. On the edge, you could go Donovan Ezeraku. He had a very good combine. You could go Michael Williams. James Pierce, there's been a lot of stuff about him. As a player, he's one of my favorite players in the class. I don't like the size argument. I know I think he weighed in as 245 at the combine, but he's a better run defender than most of the guys in this class that are 265, 270. So I'm not worried about the size. I'm going to let the tape speak for itself, and it shows that he is a very good player and one of if not the best edge rushers in this class. Now there is the off the field concerns. I thought a lot of it was just smokescreen, but I was watching a Hail Mary Sports video. Shout out to my man over there. And he was talking about, I can't remember what video, I think it was his most recent one, but he was talking about the fact that James Pierce had a interview with Ian Rappaport, and it just sounded like he was lying the whole time. And there's also been a lot of stuff about people saying that he is not a good player in the locker room to have, dating all the way back to high school. So there is a lot of off the field concerns. I do think he is still going to go in the first round. I don't think he's going to fall out of the first. Hopefully the Eagles don't steal him at number 32 overall like they seem to do with a lot of edge rushers and just players in general in the draft. So I could see him going to the Falcons at number 15 overall. I could see Michael Williams, who is a very high ceiling player, go to the Falcons here at number 15 overall. He has the injury that he suffered in the first week of last season, which probably hampered his film a little bit. I think he is a top 20 player in this class, so he could go to the Falcons number 15 overall, stay in Georgia. I think this is tough. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to have James Pierce go to Atlanta. I think the film is going to speak for itself. I know there's off-the-field concerns, and you don't want someone to come in and mess up your chemistry. But I think a team in the mid-first is going to take a chance on him. And the Falcons need edge rushers desperately. Now, there's other routes you could go. Yeah, because of that, I changed my mind. Because of the fact that there's other routes you could go, I'm going to go Michael Williams, a high-ceiling player who definitely has bust potential, but he could end up being a absolute steal for you. Cardinals here, number 16 overall. You could address the offensive line. You could take a Kelvin Banks here, slide him into the guard spot because you need help in the interior. You could take a Josh Simmons and pray that the season-ending injury does not hamper him too much, which I don't think it will. I think without the injury concerns, he's a top 5 player in the class. With the injury concerns, he'll probably go more mid-first in the 16 to 25 range. So you could go Josh Simmons, who I think would be a great pick here. I think I'm going to go Kenneth Grant, beef up the interior of that defensive line. I talked about the rumors of teams having him top 5 on their board earlier, and I think there is some truth to that, So I do think he will go a little bit higher than anticipated a few weeks ago before the combine. So let's go Kenneth Grant here. He'll play that true nose tackle position. Bengals here, number 17 overall. They franchise tag T. Higgins. I think they're going to try and extend him long term after they trade Trey Hendrickson. I do think he will for sure be gone. They're asking for a late second, early third for him, and he's going to want $30 million plus. So, you don't need a receiver. You need to beef up the interior of the offensive line, but I don't know if you can afford to do that right now with the first round. With the way you're building your team, you need defensive help extremely bad. Extremely bad. And I think it's to the point where you can't afford to take risks. You need to go ahead and take someone who's just rock solid. And after the combine, Donovan Ezeraku boosted his stock. Sorry, I was just checking on something there. But yeah, Donovan Ezeraku had a very good combine. He boosted his stock. He's a all-around great player, all-around good player. He's rock solid. And he's a more safe player, I think. So, Bengals take Donovan Ezeraku here, number 17 overall. They get their Trey Hendrickson replacement. They need to improve that defense in a big way. They need to improve the DB room as well. But let's start in the trenches. Let's start where it all starts. You need to get pressure on the quarterback to help out your defensive backs. So Donovan Ezraku is a Cincinnati Bengal. Seattle Seahawks at number 18 overall. They are hitting the hard reset on their team. Just traded Geno Smith. They cut Tyler Lockett. They're trading DK Metcalf. He requested a trade. They're asking for a first and a third for him. I don't know if they're going to get that. But nonetheless, DK Metcalf will likely be gone. So there's so many different positions you could address here. You could address the offensive line. You could go a Tyler Booker here. You could go a Josh Simmons here. You could go Kelvin Banks. You could go Gray Zabel. You could go Josh Connerly. You could also go edge. You could take a chance on James Pierce. You could go Nick Gordon. I like Braden Swinson. I don't know if he'll go this high. He might go late first. Nonetheless, you could go Jahad Campbell. You could look at the receiver position because all you have there is JSN and Jake Bobo now. So you could go a Luther Burden. I don't know if you want to go him when you have JSN. You could go Emeka Buka. You could go Matthew Golden. But I think there's going to be good receivers available at your next pick, at pick 50. So I would hold off on receiver, actually. And at the end of the day, Mike Macdonald is your head coach. I think he's going to want to take his guy in this hard reset. He's going to want to take his guy in the first round. And I think his guy is going to be a defensive player. And I think he's going to want to take his Kyle Hamilton of this defense, who, when Mike Macdonald was there, Kyle Hamilton, top 10 player in the league. And Nick Emanwari can be that Kyle Hamilton for his defense. I'm going to send him over to the Seattle Seahawks. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they need to address the defense. That is what they need to do. And I think it's time that a team takes a chance on James Pierce here. And the Buccaneers draft him to be their next edge rusher. If it works out, if the off-field concerns, the character concerns aren't as bad as people are saying they are, he's a home run pick here. There's risk. There's a lot of risk here. But nonetheless, he's a Tampa Bay Buccaneer. I'm hoping that it works out because I really like James Pierce. Denver Broncos here, number 20 overall. I mean, he fell right into your laps at Marlon Hampton. You probably should go earlier, but, you know, he is a running back, so he might fall a little bit further. Again, if the Raiders take Ashton Jeanty, if the Patriots take Ashton Jeanty, if anybody past or before the Bears take Ashton Jeanty, I think Hampton is a Bear. And even if Hampton goes before Jeanty and Hampton goes inside the top 10, then you have Jeanty as a Bear instead of Hampton. But Hampton falls number 20 overall. Broncos need a running back bad. They need a bell cow running back, and that's what Hampton can be. He ran, I think it was 4.47 at 225 pounds. I mean, that is insane stuff. Hampton tested even better than we thought he was going to. He is athletic for his size. He's neck and neck with Jeanty, and honestly, I might have him a little bit better than Jeanty just because of Jeanty's fumbling. I think Hampton might be just a tad bit more explosive too. So let's go ahead and take Hampton to the Broncos to be their bell cow running back. Steelers here, number 21 overall. You could send Shedeur Sanders here. This might be the spot where he gets taken. The Steelers, Mike Tomlin, they tend to play the draft and just everything in general safe. And this might be them trying to make a statement and saying, hey, we're willing to take a risk and try and take your quarterback of the future, because you need to look at doing that. You can't have Russell Wilson or Justin Fields at the helm and expect to win a Super Bowl. That's just not going to happen. But I'm not going to take Shedeur Sanders here. I think he's going to fall a little bit further. I'm going to try and take a compliment to George Pickens. You could look at the cornerbacks. You could take a Isaiah Thomas. You could take a Benjamin Morrison. But as I said earlier, I think he might fall outside of the first round. You could take a Darian Porter, who ran the 4.2s. He would be a perfect cornerback too. Joey Porter Jr. did struggle a little bit last season. But I want to take a receiver to complement George Pickens, and I think Luther Burden would be a perfect complement to him. He didn't have as much production this season, but I think the tape still speaks for itself. I think he'll be a great receiver. Yeah, he's a well-rounded player. Let's go ahead and bring him to the Steelers to complement George Pickens. So I was on the way home, and I was going to post this mock draft video when I got home, and then I saw that DK Metcalf got traded to the Steelers. So that kind of throws off some of this mock draft. As you just saw, I just drafted Luther Burden to the Steelers. That's not going to happen, at least most likely now. And then you'll see in a few minutes, I ended up having DK Metcalf traded to the Packers. That obviously can't happen anymore. So I'm not going to redo the whole mock draft because it took an hour and a half to do. But I'll just show you guys what I would have done for at least the Steelers and Packers in this case. Would have had Azariah Thomas go to the Pack or the Steelers. Joey Porter Jr. did not have that good of a 2024 season. So Azariah Thomas comes in competition for the cornerback 1 spot, but at the very least is a good cornerback 2 for you. I love everything about Azariah Thomas. The only thing you can really improve on is acceleration at the break. Emeka Egbuka to the Packers to be their wide receiver 1. Obviously, I would have had DK Metcalf going there to be their wide receiver 1. That's not happening anymore. But Emeka Egbuka comes in. I think he can definitely be a wide receiver 1 in the NFL at some point if he develops into that. Very reliable player. Very good all around. So we'll go ahead and leave it at that. Hopefully, next mock draft does not have something like that happen. Chargers here, number 22 overall. A few different areas you could go. If Martin Hampton was still here, I would say that's a lock for Jim Harbaugh to take him to be his running back. He's not here, though. You could look at the offensive line. You could take a Gray Zabel. You could take a Josh Simmons. Oh, who am I kidding? They have Rashawn Slater and Joe Alt. They don't need a tackle. But you do need interior offensive line. So you could take a Kelvin Banks and slide him in to the guard spot. You could look at the edge position because you just cut Joey Bosa. Could take a Nick Gordon. Maybe this is where Mike Green finally goes. You could take a Landon Jackson, who improved his stock after the combine. You could look at receiver. They are in the talks for DK Metcalf. I would love DK Metcalf next to Ladd McConkey. Or you could draft one. You could take an Egbuka. You could take a Matthew Golden. But I'm going to look at the tight end position. Jim Harbaugh loves to utilize this tight end. And he will get his very own tight end from college here. I'm not huge on Colston Loveland, but he is a good player. He is a rock-solid player, and he's got that connection to Jim Harbaugh. So let's go and send Colston Loveland to the Chargers to be their tight end of the future. Packers here, number 23 overall. You could address the receiver position. You could take interior offensive line. You could look at going edge or corner. I think Azariah Thomas would probably be the best player to select here, but I'm going to look to make a trade. And I'm going to go ahead and send DK Metcalf to the Green Bay Packers. We're going to send number 23 overall and number 124 overall for DK. I'm sorry, why did I do that? For DK Metcalf, and we'll say they send 236 back over. So that's going to be the trade. Packers get their wide receiver 1, and the Seahawks are right back in the mix in the first round. And I think they had Tyler Booker fall into their laps. They really need to beef the interior of the offensive line. Tyler Booker is just the definition of a all-around solid player. He's a safe player, maybe the safest player in the class. So let's go and take Tyler Booker to establish the interior of the offensive line. Vikings here, number 24 overall. If Tyler Booker was there, I would have said that's a slam dunk pick for y'all. There's no running back I think that's worth taking here, number 24 overall. If you guys don't extend Aaron Jones, you could look at taking a Walter Nolan, a Derek Harmon, or Darius Alexander, who's getting first round hype. after the combine. You could look at taking a Darren Porter, Azariah Thomas. I would look at trading back because you don't have a lot of picks. You only have 4 picks in this draft. And maybe a team is lurking to take Shedeur Sanders now and wants to trade up. And I think a team who might be trying to do that now is the Cleveland Browns. Maybe there was truth to them wanting to take quarterback no matter what. They just weren't willing to do it as high as number 2 overall. But they are willing to trade, to package a 3rd round pick. And let's say, this is hard because the Vikings don't have any late picks. And we'll send 103. No, let's not do that. We'll just send 33, 94, and 201 for number 24 overall. I don't think it's going to take a lot to trade up. The Vikings, they're just going to want more picks. And the thing with this draft class is a lot of the players from, pick 11 all the way down to pick 50 are going to be similar in teams' gradings of them. So I think this is a trade. This is a realistic trade package. We're going to send that through. And now the Browns can take their hopeful quarterback of the future. I'm not big on Shedeur Sanders. I said earlier that I'm not big on any of the quarterbacks in this class. I don't think there's a first-round quarterback in this class, but you had a value could have been a quarterback. It's going to put a couple quarterbacks in the first round. And Sanders does have potential to be a decent quarterback in the league. We'll see what happens, but maybe Myles Garrett said, I'll extend with y'all if y'all solve the quarterback position. And this was the Browns' answer to that. So we'll play into that scenario, I guess, and we'll have the Browns trade up to take Shedeur Sanders. Texans here, number 25 overall. You could look to beef up the interior of the offensive line. You could look to take receiver. You could look to take a Walter Nolan or someone like that. You could look to improve your... Let's go ahead and take a look at their depth chart real quick. Yeah, you still have Laramie Tunsil there. So I don't know if I'd take a Josh Simmons here. Kelvin Banks would make sense if you want him to slide in to the interior of the offensive line. You just traded for Christian Kirk, so you have another receiver there. But I think you still need another receiver. And Emeka Egbuka could be the perfect guy to complement Nico Collins. You can have Christian Kirk in the slot. And then you have CJ Stroud reuniting with his former Ohio State Buckeye. Let's see. Maybe you want to go edge. I don't know, though. Linebacker is a possibility. Do you want to take Matthew Golden? Do you want the home run speedster player who ran the 4.2s? I think Egbuka is the better fit. We're going to take Emeka Egbuka, bring him over to play with CJ Stroud and the Texans. Rams here, number 26 overall. They retain Matthew Stafford. So quarterback is not an option. There's no tight end worth taking here. I think you want to beef up the offensive line. And Josh Simmons fell right into your lap here. So let's go ahead and send Josh Simmons over to the Rams. Ravens here, number 27 overall. They extended Ronnie Staley, so I don't know if they will be going tackle. You could go receiver. You could go Matthew Golden. You could go corner. There's a lot of good ones left on the board. You could go Azariah Thomas. You could go edge. You could go Nick Gordon. I think, man, if they didn't extend Ronnie Staley, I would say that Grey Zabel is a lock to go here because I love Grey Zabel. I think he's a top 10 to 15 player in this class. He had an insane Senior Bowl, which is when he really got put on the map for a lot of people. But because they extended Ronnie Stanley, I don't know if they want to go offensive tackle in the first round. I think they want to. I think improving that cornerback room is going to be important for them. I'm going to go Azariah Thomas. To the Ravens, the only real problem with him is his acceleration after the break. So hopefully he can improve on that. But everything else is very rock solid for him. Lions here, number 28 overall. You could go with Kelvin Banks to try and improve the interior of that offensive line, which needs a lot of improvement. You could go Jahad Campbell here. And actually, I like the idea of the Chiefs trading up a few spots because Gray Zabel is lurking. And I think the Commanders would take Gray Zabel if he's available. Maybe this Jahad Campbell is a great player, and I don't think the Lions would want to lose out on that because the Commanders or the Bills could end up snagging him. So we're going to go ahead and allow the Lions to take Jahad Campbell. We're not going to have the Chiefs trade up for him. Commanders here, number 29 overall. Gray Zabel falls right into your laps. I feel like you have to take him in this scenario. You need to improve the tackle positions. Brandon Coleman could slide into the left guard spot, and then you could have Gray Zabel play the left tackle spot. And I think that is a perfect scenario. If you don't want him playing the left tackle spot, you want to continue to develop Brandon Coleman at left tackle, you can bring him over to right tackle because Gray Zabel has played right tackle in his career. And Andrew Wiley is just not it. Either way, you get an upgrade at the tackle spot. Bills number 30 overall. You could take a Matthew Golden. You could take a Walter Nolan or Darius Alexander or Derek Harmon. You just cut Von Miller. So you could take a chance on a Mike Green. You could take a Nick Gordon. But you also just extended Gregory Rousseau. But you do need to improve that edge rusher spot. But I think getting another weapon for Josh Allen is going to be a priority in this draft. And you have a home run hitter in Matthew Golden here. Kevin Coleman can play your slot role. Keon Coleman can play your X role, and Matthew Golden can be your speedster, your home run hitter. Let's go ahead and send Matthew Golden to the Buffalo Bills. Kansas City Chiefs here, number 31 overall. I think looking at offensive tackles that are available, Josh Conerly could be the pick here. I don't think Kelvin Banks is going to play tackle in the NFL, but you could take him and look to slide him into the interior. I don't think there's a linebacker worth taking here. You could look at taking interior defensive line with Walter Nolan, Darius Alexander, or Derek Harmon. You could take Ozzie Trapilo out of Boston College. And I think that's the route I'm going to... I do like Josh Conerly. But I'm gonna get Ozzie Trapilo. No, I'm not. No, I'm not. I'm actually going to go ahead and send Walter Nolan to the Kansas City Chiefs. I think he deserves to go in the late first. Philadelphia Eagles, number 32 overall. You could take Kelvin Banks to develop him as interior offensive line for you. You are going to need some edge help now that you know that Myles Garrett is not on the block anymore, and Josh Sweat will likely be leaving you. Makes a lot of sense for a player like Mike Green, who has a lot of off-the-field concerns, but is an extreme talent, for the Eagles to take him and make him a great player. You also have Nick Gordon. And I think Nick Gordon definitely deserves to go in the first round. So I'm going to take Nick Gordon and have him be a Philadelphia Eagle. Alright, I am back. I had to take a break to get an Alani. I'm addicted to these things. But anyways, let's get back into the mock draft. Second round here, Vikings traded back with the Browns. So the Browns could select Shedeur Sanders, get him under contract for 5 years possibly if he ends up being their guy at quarterback. So there's a few different options we could go with the Vikings. If they do not retain Aaron Jones, we could go running back. We could go Quinshon Judkins. I think he's the only guy who's worth taking this early in the second round. We could look at going Kelvin Banks, sliding him to the guard spot. Darius Alexander, Derek Harmon, both guys we could end up taking. We could end up going the cornerback route. Darian Porter is still available. Javon Ravel, Trey Amos, Ben Morrison. I think those are the guys that'll end up going in this early to mid second round range. I think Maxwell Harrison, with the off the field issue stuff, he'll end up sliding to late second round, early third round. He had a great combine. His tape is good, but the off field issues is gonna push him down. So I think going a player like Trey Amos, he deserves to go in the early second round. He's just an all-around good player. Has great size for a cornerback. 6'4", I think about 195. So let's go ahead and lock him into the Vikings here. Giants here, number 34 overall. You're going to need to establish your offensive line. It's not good. You might have the worst tackle duo in the NFL. And you just drafted your hopefully future quarterback, your quarterback one for years to come, and you want to protect him. So Josh Connerly has fallen to the second round. Let's go ahead and take him, and hopefully he's your tackle of the future with Cam Ward as your quarterback of the future. Titans at 35 overall, traded down to number 3 overall, took Travis Hunter at that spot. So you don't need to go corner. You could go edge. You could beef up the offensive line, but I don't know. The only true tackle really here is Ozzy Trapilo. I don't know if you want to take him in the early second. He might slip a little bit later. I think edge is the most likely spot here. You could end up being the first team to take a swing on Mike Green with the off-field issues. I think Braden Swinson, this is a good spot for him. I think he's going to go in this range. He might even go late first, but he's an underrated player. His tape is really good. So let's go ahead and lock him in to the Titans here at number 35 overall. Jaguars here, number 36 overall. Kelvin Banks has fallen to the second round, and I think this is a perfect fit for him. Slide into the interior offensive line at the guard spot, help protect T-Law. Liam Cohen is going to want to establish his offense. You could have went corner there. There's a lot of good corners available, but I think Liam Cohen is going to have some power on that team, and he's gonna want to have his offense be exactly how he wants it. So I think the first couple picks of the Jaguars in this draft are going to be offense. Raiders here, number 37 overall. Ended up taking Will Johnson at number 6 overall, and I think this fell apart exactly how you want it to. You passed on taking Ashton Dente, your running back of the future, for Pete Carroll, but you have a chance of taking Quinshon Judkins. He's not quite the player that Gentry or Hampton are, but he is the third best running back in this class, in my opinion, and he had a very good combine to beef his stock even further. So I think he will go in this range. So we're going to go ahead and send Judkins to the Raiders. He's a running back of the future. And they might sign another free agent running back like J.K. Dobbins to complement Judkins. But I think he will be their 1A at the very least. Patriots here, number 38 overall. They could have used Judkins. They need an upgrade at running back. Ramondre Stevenson is not it. So they could go offensive line here. You could take a Donovan Jackson or an Ozzy Trapilo. You could take Jonah here from Arizona. Emory Jones could go in the second. I don't think he'll go this high. Anthony Belton, this is a spot he'd go in, slide him into the interior. But I think they're going to go receiver. They might sign Chris Godwin, but even if they do sign Chris Godwin, I think they still need another receiver. And Jack Bech just screams Patriot to me. He's my wide receiver 2 in the class right now. I'm going to send him to the Patriots to pair up with Drake May. Chicago Bears is number 39 overall, shaping up to be one of my favorite teams of the offseason. I think they're going to give the Lions and the Packers and the Vikings a run for their money, and I think the Bears very well might win the NFC North. So I think they do have needs still. They need an edge. They've kind of fixed the interior of the offensive line. We have taken Ashton Jeanty with their 10th overall pick. So they have 2 picks here. So one of these are kind of a luxury pick in my opinion. And I think this is a spot where you can go ahead and take a Mike Green. You can take a swing on him. And if you don't here, I think the Saints might. So go ahead and take Mike Green. Very good talent, very athletic edge rusher. He has the off-the-field concerns, but you have Montez Sweat there. He's just a compliment, Montez Sweat. If he works out, the off-the-field concerns don't end up being a problem, you have a home run pick. If not, it sucks, but you still have Montez Sweat there, and you still have a really good team outside of that. Saints here, number 40 overall. I think they would go interior defensive line here. There's a lot of good receivers that could complement Chris Olave. And the more that I think about it, the more I want to go receiver. I want to go interior defensive line, but with Chris Olave's injury issues, his concussions are just piling up. You probably want to establish another good receiver outside of him. Rashid Shaheed is good, but he's just kind of like a straight line speed deep threat. You need someone that can fill in the Chris Olave shoes when he goes out, and just a good compliment to him. And that's what Jaden Higgins and Alec Ayomanor are. They're both big-bodied receivers, and I like Jaden Higgins more than Ayomanor, but I think Ayomanor might go higher in the draft. So but Jaden Higgins would be such a good compliment to Chris Olave. Yeah, we're going to do that. We're going to send Jaden Higgins over to the Saints. I think that is a great pick there, number 40 overall. I think Jaden Higgins might even slip into the late first round. The Bears here, number 41 overall. I'm going to beef up that defensive line even further. Darius Alexander is getting first round hype after that great combine that he had. Let's go in and send him to the Bears. And let's continue the trend of interior defensive line going here. Derek Harmon is another guy that's getting first round hype. I don't think he deserves to go in the first round, but this is a good spot for him. Jets need to beef up that defensive line. Let's go and send him to New York. 49ers here at number 43 overall. We went Will Campbell with our first round selection. We could look at taking edge here. And I think this is a good spot for J.T. Tuimoloau. So let's go ahead and send him to the San Francisco 49ers. Him and Jack Story were a great... Well, honestly, I think the 49ers are going to target Joey Bosa to pair up the Bosa twins. Now, that won't exactly stop them from taking an edge rusher here, but I think it's actually more important for them to beef up the interior of the defensive line here. So let's go ahead and continue the trend of going interior defensive line and send Tyleik Williams over to the 49ers. Another Ohio State boy. Cowboys at number 44 overall. We want Shamar Stewart in the first round, a project edge rusher for them. They could go a guy like Caleb Johnson now here. Travion Henderson has a possibility to go in the second round, although I don't think you want him as your even 1A. I think he's more of a 1B back. So you could go offensive tackle. A lot of these guys are going to end up sliding into the guard position in the NFL, I think. I think Ozzie Trapilo could be a true tackle. He could go to the Cowboys here. I think receiver is going to be something you really target. So you could go Ayomanor. You could go Jalen Noel or Jalen Royals here. Let's see. You're not going to go edge again. Let's say that they do take Ozzie Trapilo because they need to fix the offensive line. They need to fix the tackle spot. Let's go ahead and send Ozzie Trapilo to the Cowboys here. Colts here, number 45 overall. You could go tight end here. You could go Elijah Arroyo. Harold Fannin Jr. is my tight end. He's very close to Colston Loveland. It's between them for 2 and 3. I might even like Harold Fannin a little bit more. He did not test how we wanted him to at the combine. That's going to be a problem. He's not going to be a good blocker in the NFL at all. So maybe he doesn't go to the Colts here. I don't think they need to really look at the edge. Maybe this is a spot where Ben Morrison goes. You were maybe thinking about him in the first round, and you grab Malachi Starks, but now you have the guy you were thinking about in the first round fall to you in the second round at pick 45 overall. So let's go ahead and send Ben Morrison to the Indianapolis Colts. Falcons here at number 46 overall. We want Micah Williams to fill that edge spot. High upside player in the first round. Now, I think we might want to focus on the interior of the defensive line. Shamar Turner and TJ Sanders are here. Although there are a lot of good cornerbacks that are fallen. We still have Darren Porter and Javon Ravel. And I think after this group, it falls off. So maybe you focus on cornerback. But I do think you do need a true nose tackle. But I think this is a group of true nose tackles right here. I do like Josh Farmer as well. But these guys will be available in the third round. So you can wait there. I think it might be a little too early. Demetrius Knight could go here. His stock was definitely boosted after the combine. Let's see. Let's go and take a look at the Falcons roster real quick. Make sure we get exactly who we want for them in the second round, because this is a high value pick. Here they are. I don't think I want to focus at receiver, because you do have Darnell Mooney as your receiver too, and he's not the greatest receiver too in the league, but he is a solid one. He is a rock solid one. So cornerback, you have Adrian Terrell, obviously. You don't need to worry about fixing that, but you do want someone opposite of him. I think I have decided I am going to go corner, and I think Darren Porter is the perfect corner too. He ran the 4.2s, if I'm remembering correctly. All around solid player. He has good hands. He used to play receiver. Yeah, let's go ahead and lock him in there to the Falcons. Cardinals here, number 47 overall. We want Kenneth Grant to fill that nose tackle spot. Now it might be time to look at the interior of the offensive line. And I think Donovan Jackson is falling a lot further than he should. So we're going to go ahead and select him to be an Arizona Cardinal, slide in to the guard spot, and maybe you keep him as a guard for now, and then next year or later in this season, you slide him into the tackle spot. But for now, you should keep him as a guard, maybe develop him as a tackle later. Dolphins here, number 48 overall. We took Jahdae Barron to fill that nickel role with the flexibility to go to the boundary or even in the box if you need him to. So I don't think we need to go another defensive back here. I mean, you could go Xavier Watts because you still need a safety. You want to at least look at the interior of the defensive line here. And you definitely want to look at the interior of the offensive line. And I think Jared Wilson, this is a good spot for him. So we're going to go and send him to the Dolphins. He can play that guard spot for you. Bengals here, number 49 overall. We want Donovan Ezeraku at number 17 overall. Try and replace Trey Hendrickson. You could go edge again. That's not out of the question here. There's a lot of good edge rushers here. You could go interior defensive line with TJ Sanders. You could go interior offensive line. I don't think there's one worth it here yet. But I do like Anthony Belton, and I think that's what I'm going to go with. You need to beef up the defense more, but you still need to protect Joe Burrow. And you just need to build through their trenches. I think that's what they should do on day 1 and day 2, is just straight building through the trenches. So let's go and lock him to the Bengals there. Seahawks here, number 50 overall. I believe this is exactly what you wanted. You need a receiver, and you got a stud in Alec Ayermanor. Perfect complement to JSN, who's going to play that slot role. Ayermanor can play the X role for you. Bucks here, number 51 overall. We want James Pierce. They're taking a risk with him with his character concerns. I think you still need to lean into the defense. I think Demetrius Knight is a great pick for you here. You extended Levante David, but he is getting old. You need someone to replace him eventually. So let's go ahead and send Demetrius Knight to the Bucks, and he will be the successor to Levante David. Broncos here, number 52 overall. You need safety help pretty bad. You need a receiver too. You could go Jalen Noah or Jalen Royals here. Tight end, you could go Elijah Arroyo or Harold Fannin. We know Sean Payton likes his tight ends, but I don't know if I'd go tight end quite yet. Linebacker, I don't know if I'd go linebacker here. I think Xavier Watts needs to be the pick here. Let's go Xavier Watts, send him to the Broncos. They need safety help. Steelers at number 53 overall. We went Luther Burden at number 21 overall. I think Shavon Ravel might be the pick here. Maxwell Harrison, I think, is going to fall just a little bit later. It might be Jackson. I personally would not take Jackson Dart here. I'd much rather wait for Will Howard in the 3rd round. I think he will be available there. But Jackson Dart is getting a lot of buzz. I think he will go in the 2nd round at this point, unless it's all smoke screens. We'll see what happens closer to draft season. But let's go ahead and send Jackson Dart to the Steelers. Maybe he plays a backup role for this season, or at least the first half of the season. You bring back Justin Fields maybe and have him start, and then have Jackson Dart slowly work in, something like that. But yeah, Jackson Dart to the Steelers, number 53 overall. They're hoping he's going to be the quarterback of their future. I don't know about that. I'm not a big fan of him, but he's getting a lot of buzz, so let's go ahead and match that buzz. Chargers here, number 54 overall. We took Colston Loveland. Jim Harbaugh got his guy at tight end. I think edge is what you want to focus on here now. You could go receiver. You could go Jalen Royals or Jalen Noah, but I think you really need to replace Joey Bosa, and JT Tuimoloau is falling a lot. I think he should go more early 2nd round. Let's go ahead and send him to the Chargers. Jim Harbaugh gets one of his rival players in college, as he was the Michigan's head coach. Seahawks. This is not supposed to happen. I must have messed up when I did the Packers Seahawks trade. So let me go and send this back to the Packers. This isn't gonna mess with the mock at all. So Packers get their 2nd round pick back. I don't know what happened there, but they have not had a pick yet because they traded for DK Metcalf. So they solved the wide receiver problem. You could go edge here. I think I'm going to lean towards the cornerback position because you are going to be trading Jack Alexander, it looks like. So Shavon Ravel would be a home run pick here. Let's go and send him to the Packers. Number 56 overall, Bills. We took Matthew Golden with our last selection. Solved the receiver problem. Now you have Keon Coleman in the X, Matthew Golden as your speedster, and you still have Khalil Shakir in the slot. So you have a good trio of receivers there. I think you should focus on fixing the edge spot now. And Landon Jackson had a really good combine. His tape is solid. I think he's definitely going to be a top 75 player. So him going number 56 overall to the Bills is realistic. Let's go and send him there. Texans, we went Emeka Egbuka in the 1st round. I think we should be solving either interior offensive line or interior defensive line now. And Marcus Mbao is someone who is likely going to slide into the guard spot because of his, I think he only had 31-inch arms, if that's correct, 31 and 32-inch arms. So he's likely going to slide into guard, and I think this is a good spot for him. So let's go and send him to the Texans to slide into that guard spot for him. Protect CJ Stroud. Panthers here, number 58 overall. We went Jalen Walker. I think now is a good spot to go either safety or corner. I don't know if Kevin Winston is going to go in the second round. I think he is a day 2 player. Same with Upton Stout. He's going to go either 3rd or 4th round. He might be a day 3 player. Andrew Mukaba. I really like his game. I think he's going to go more 3rd round too. So maybe we don't focus on the safety spot. Maxwell Harrison could be the guy here. You take a risk on him. But there are still good edge rushers here that you might want to take a chance on. I don't know if Jack Sawyer exactly fills that role for you. I kind of want to save him for the Lions here. He seems like a lion to me, you know? So right to Jalen Walker, we don't need a linebacker. I do like the idea of going receiver, and I think Jalen Royals could maybe be the successor to Adam Thielen. Let's go ahead and take him here at number 58 overall. Ravens here went Azariah Thomas in the 1st round, so that corner spot. Maybe this is a receiver here. You don't have a big body guy that is really worth starting. You have Zay Flowers, who I'm not a big fan of. He's a good receiver, but I don't think he's a receiver 1. And I don't think Trey Harris will be either. But this at least gives you a big body receiver that Lamar Jackson can target, besides Mark Andrews and Isaiah Likely. This gives you a compliment to Zay Flowers that I don't think you have. You have Rashad Bateman, but he's very inconsistent. Let's go ahead and send Trey Harris to the Ravens. Lions here, number 60 overall. I already talked about what I wanted to do. We should at least look at the interior of the offensive line. Jonas Savania is still here, and I kind of want to take him, actually, now that I think about it. You do need another edge opposite of Aiden Hutchinson. That was proven in the divisional round against my Commanders. They got very little pressure on Jaden Daniels without Aiden Hutchinson against a not-so-good offensive line. So in high-pressure scenarios, you prove that you do need another edge. I don't know if Jack Sawyer is exactly going to be your solution to that, but he fits the Lions kind of team so well that that guy who's going to, if he goes down, he's going to come back and he's going to bite a kneecap on his way up. And you knock him down again, he's going to bite your other kneecap on the way up, coming back up. So I think Jack Sawyer just fits the Lions team so much. They can go interior offensive line next round. Commanders at number 61 overall. They went Gray Zabel, home run pick at tackle in the 1st round. He's probably not going to fall that far. Maxwell Harrison could be the pick here, but I think you need to solve the edge rusher spot. Having Dante Fowler as your premier edge is not exactly it. I know he had, I think, 10.5 or 11 sacks last season. That's more of a testament of Dan Quinn getting the most out of his edge rushers than Dante Fowler being good. And outside of Dante Fowler, there was no one that really had any production on the edge. So what I'm going to do is Trey Hendrickson is on the trade block, and they want a late 2nd or early 3rd for him. So the Commanders have not shied away from making moves so far on the offseason. They traded for Deebo Samuel, and maybe they take advantage of getting another veteran who is on the block and trade for Trey Hendrickson. So we're going to go ahead and send Trey Hendrickson to be their premier edge rusher. Send number 61 overall for Trey Hendrickson. Send that through. That's accepted. So we now have the Bengals on the board. They took Donovan Ezraku and Anthony Belton. I think we should focus on the defensive back room now. And Maxwell Harrison is still here. He is a risk. And I don't know if you can afford taking a risk. So but I do not trust any of the DBs past Maxwell Harrison. So maybe it's worth taking the risk in the late second round. So let's go and send Maxwell Harrison to the Cincinnati Bengals. Buffalo Bills here at number 62 overall back on the clock. We took Matthew Golden in the first. We just took Landon Jackson a few picks ago. They could use help in the interior of the defensive line. I don't think there's a cornerback worth taking now. Linebackers available. I do really like Danny Stutzman and Jack Kaiser. And I think at least one of them deserves to go in the second round. So I don't know if you need to take a linebacker this early if you're the Bills, though. I honestly wish I waited to take Maxwell Harrison until the Bills are on the clock now. But it is what it is. We will figure it out. We already took receiver. Let's go ahead and send Jack Kaiser to the Bills. He deserves to go in the second round. Kansas City Chiefs here at number 63 overall. We took Walter Nolan in the first round. TJ Sanders would have been a good pick here. For offensive tackles available, we don't have any true offensive tackles left, I don't think. So we're not going to go offensive tackle here. Linebacker is something we could go. Let's go ahead and take Danny Stutzman. We just took Jack Kaiser. So let's take Stutzman here to the Chiefs. Eagles here, number 64 overall. We took Nick Gordon in the first round to kind of replace Josh Sweat. Let's see. Maxwell Harrison would have been a good pick here, but he was taken by the Bengals, number 61 overall. I think Jonas Savania deserves to go in the second round. I don't see him falling outside the second round. And the Eagles need a guard for the future. So he can slide into that guard spot for him. And that is going to be the mock draft. For those of you who have watched, thank you so much. Please subscribe. And my next video idea is, since I'm a Commanders fan, do Commanders offseason mock. I know a lot has already happened. And all those moves that were made, at least the re-signing of Bobby Wagner and Zach Ertz, I would have made anyways. So it doesn't hurt the video too much. So I think that's going to be my next video, hopefully posted tomorrow. I'll see you all later. Thank you.